Hey there and welcome back to NBA 2K18's My League Mode, and welcome back to the second offseason with the Louisville Legionnaires. My name is Pete and today we complete the rest of the offseason, including free agency, summer league and training camps. And I would say let's get things started with free agency, and once again thank you so much for your feedback in the last episode. I went a lot more into detail in that episode, so if you haven't watched it yet then feel free to catch up, but basically the situation is as follows. Our position with the biggest need is without a doubt the point guard, but the free agency situation there and on pretty much every other position is rather terrible. We either have star players that we cannot afford like Kemba Walker here, or promising but restricted free agents whose teams will likely not let them walk. Now the Legionnaires have the option to clear a bit of cap space and make a run at one of those restricted free agents, for example D'Angelo Russell here, but the risk involved is pretty high. We would need to make a few trades for that, and in the end the most likely outcome is that all of our offer sheets will be matched. So the best course of action this year might just be to play it safe, and reading through your comments, most of you guys seem to agree with me in that regard. So, with 14 players already under contract for the next season, here is what we're going to do. We won't make any trades at this point, and we will only acquire one additional player at the point guard position. And that player will be none other than Louisville's own 4-time NBA All-Star and 1-time NBA champion Rajon Rondo. Yes, Rondo is already 33 years old, but he brings some much-needed veteran presence to the team. He is an excellent playmaker, has a ton of passing badges and is available for cheap, and so we are going to offer him a 1-year, $2.5 million contract to very likely come off the bench for about 15 to 20 minutes a night for his hometown team. And no surprises here, Rondo accepts and so do we, and with that our first and only move in this year's free agency is complete, as we welcome Rajon Rondo to the Louisville Legionnaires. And so we can now skip ahead to the end of free agency, and let's have a quick look around the league, although there weren't really any big roster moves. Point guard Emmanuel Mudiay joins the Philadelphia 76ers on a 2-year contract, Rondae Hollis-Jefferson signs a deal of equal size with the Chicago Bulls, Marcus Morris joins the Hawks for 2 seasons, Terrence Ross finds himself in Houston, also on a 2-year deal, and Dwayne Dedmon strengthens the Warriors frontcourt rotation for the next 3 years. Apart from that, all big-name free agents return to their original teams, so LeBron James and Kevin Love are back with the Cavaliers, Kemba Walker returns to the Hornets, Karl-Anthony Towns and Jimmy Butler to the Timberwolves, and the Nuggets have also re-signed both Nikola Jokic and Paul Millsap. So here we are, and that brings us now to the next and also very interesting point in the offseason, as we are about to see how our players developed over the summer break. Now Rodney Hood still leads the pack, and his rating change here comes from a position change that we made earlier this season, not from a change in skill, so I think it's safe to say that he will stay around the low 80s for the foreseeable future. Deontay Davis then experiences a big 4-point rating jump up to 78, making him the second best player on the team, although just barely. Tyler Ulis' rating does not increase any further, which is a bit concerning considering he's only 23 years old, but it should be enough to keep him serviceable for us as the starting point guard, at least until we have found an upgrade, which is definitely at the top of the to-do list for the next season. Bryce Johnson and Mo Bamba both increased by 4 points as well, and while this was somewhat expected for Bamba, it is a welcome surprise for Johnson, who now also in ratings cements himself as one of the top players on the team. Then, despite the potential training camp and the last offseason, Josh Richardson's overall does not increase any further, so especially with the arrival of rookie shooting guard Andre Flanders, his starting spot in the rotation is definitely no longer guaranteed. Still, if Richardson can stay in the mid-70s for the rest of his contract and produce at the level that we're used to, I would already be more than satisfied with him. Big man Cheick Diallo improves by 3 points, now up to a 76, and that rating might just jump up a bit further next season, because we may or may not switch Diallo over to the power forward spot, but we'll get into that later. Kyle Kuzma gets a 1-point rating increase up to 76, definitely not a huge jump, but if you can keep that level of progression of 1 or 2 points every year for the next 2 or 3 seasons, then he should perfectly develop into that versatile role player who can either start or come off the bench. Juan Hernangomez then already stagnates at 75 despite only being 23 years young, and with him in the last year of his contract, this definitely puts a bit of a question mark above his head. Rookie Andre Flanders does not get a rating increase, because coming fresh out of the draft, rookies don't get that, but with his insane potential I expect him to climb the ranks very quickly. Rashad Vaughn gets a small 1-point increase, bringing him up to 74. However, with the arrival of Flanders now emerging as one of the Legionnaires' primary trade targets, as his combination of skill, age and contract should be relatively easy to move. Derek White was brought in from the Spurs as a third-string point guard, but it looks like he is also still developing and could therefore see the occasional minute here and there as well. Speaking of point guards, the latest acquisition Rajon Rondo drops down 2 points, but being 33 years old that was to be expected, but I think his numerous badges will be more than able to compensate that and keep him serviceable for us as an elite playmaker. The rating for rookie sharpshooter Mitch Dennis once again remains unchanged, while Omar Ashik drops down even further, now a 67, making him and his expiring $12 million contract pretty much unmovable. Now, we already talked briefly about roles with the team for the next season, but before we create our final rotation, it is time for the Summer League. And I decided to focus heavily on the 5 guys on the team who are still eligible this year, and that's Derek White at the point guard, rookies Andre Flanders and Mitch Dennis at the shooting guard and small forward, Kyle Kuzma, who will start at the power forward, and sophomore Mo Bamba, who will man the center spot. I then surrounded them with a pretty random assortment of eligible players, including, however, 2 former Legionnaires in Tyler Lydon and Joe Chi. Still, like I said, the minutes in the rotation heavily focused on the 5 guys who are with the team, because especially with the 2 rookies, I'm eager to see what they can do. We then once again participate in the 2K Summer League, and our first matchup will be against the Oklahoma City Thunder. And this game, ladies and gentlemen, was an absolute annihilation. At halftime, we were already up by 20, however, the game was pretty much already over midway through the first quarter. And even though in the end we only won by 16 points, the outcome of this game was never really in question. And without a doubt, the biggest reason for that, this guy right here, Mo Bamba. Bamba finished the game with an insane performance, 38 points, 15 rebounds and 3 blocks in 35 minutes, shooting a crazy efficient 18 of 21 from the field. Now what you see next are some of Bamba's highlights this game, but all of them are taken in the first quarter. In that first quarter, Bamba already had 16 points, 5 rebounds and 2 blocks, and he did not miss a single shot from the field. He actually did not miss with any of his first 14 shot attempts, so he made 14 consecutive shots in a row for 30 points before missing his first field goal attempts after 25 minutes of in-game action. In other words, Bamba was completely unguardable this game. And I have to say, his length, especially his wingspan, is just a joy to play with. His mid-range shot is good enough so that it forces defenders to come out and guard him up close, but he was also fast enough to blow by pretty much every other big man in this game, which allowed for easy dunks and layups near the basket. And based off of this game alone, I have to say I am excited to see what Bamba can do in the regular season. Now, Bamba was of course not the only scorer on the team. One other guy that really impressed me tonight was rookie Andre Flanders. He finished the game with 23 points, 7 rebounds and 6 assists in 31 minutes, and he did produce a few very good highlights as well, the best one probably already this one right here. Now, one thing about Flanders that I definitely need to get used to is his shot release, because he has an absurdly fast trigger. Maybe you can already see it here in the highlights, but it definitely became a lot more noticeable when playing with him. I bricked quite a few shots with him just because he has such a quick release. Still, he did have a great performance tonight, and I'm eager to see more. Derek White also impressed me with a double-double tonight, 13 points and 10 assists. This game definitely made me happy to have him on board, and I think depending on who we're going up against, we can switch frequently between him and Rondo in the backup spot. Now at first glance, Kyle Kuzma had a solid stat line as well, with 13 points, 9 rebounds and 4 assists. However, his shooting numbers were really not that great tonight, with only 5 of 16 from the field. Rookie Mitch Dennis wasn't much better, with 3 of 10, including 2 of 8 from deep, although I have to say that was in large parts my fault, as I may have tried to get him going from 3-point range a bit too much. Our second game of the Summer League then against the Washington Wizards, and I actually decided to have Mo Bamba sit this one out, simply because there's really no need for him to risk unnecessary injuries. In the end, we were still able to beat the Wizards comfortably by more than 20 points, this time with rookie Mitch Dennis leading the way in scoring. He scored 16 points, although once again not overly efficient from the field. Not overly efficient was also the performance of Andre Flanders in this one. Yes, he did score 12 points and grabbed 8 rebounds, but he also shot a pretty poor 4 of 15 from the field. For Summer League game number 3 against the Atlanta Hawks, then Mo Bamba is back in the rotation, going up not only against Hawks sophomore DeAndre Ayton, but also against the rookie that we would have liked to draft, point guard Brandon Strong. The end result here, once again a decisive victory. The Legionnaires crushed the Hawks by 37, once again behind a strong Mo Bamba who finished the game with 16 points, 14 rebounds, 3 assists and 2 blocks. Our rookies Flanders and Dennis then also with good scoring performances, Flanders with 15, Dennis with 14, and Dennis also got going from deep this game, shooting 4 of 8 for 50% from behind the arc. Kyle Kuzma also finished the game with 14 points, and Derek White filled the stat sheet with 9 points, 4 rebounds and 6 assists, so a nice team effort here as the Legionnaires remain undefeated in the 2K Summer League. Also a quick look at Brandon Strong, who played 31 minutes in this game. Not really a great game from him in this one, only 7 points and 5 assists, shooting a pretty bad 3 of 11 from the field, and despite the fact that he is a defensive specialist and this is only Summer League, he wasn't able to get himself a single steal or block. Now, here we are on Championship Day for the 2K Summer League, and after winning all 3 of our games, the Louisville Legionnaires now go up against the Boston Celtics in the game for the crown. Now, after 2 quarters, this game was already going in our favor. We went into halftime with a 10-point lead fueled by a stellar performance from Andre Flanders, who at this point had 17 points to lead all scorers. In the second half, however, the Celtics narrowed the gap, and after a beautiful long pass to the cutting Jason Tatum here, they actually took the lead. On the other end, we then got a beautiful wide-open 3 for Andre Flanders. However, the shot misses, and with less than a minute left, the Celtics have a chance to make it a 2-possession game. Once again, the ball finds Tatum, this time in the post, and despite having a wide-open man cutting to the basket, he decides to do it himself and eventually misses the layup against Kyle Kuzma. We go back the other way, and once again the ball goes to Andre Flanders, who isolates his defender, goes one-on-one and hits the layup to tie things up again. With 12 seconds left, the Celtics take a timeout, and once again they eventually find Jason Tatum in the post. And this time Tatum is able to score, putting Boston up by 2 with only 2.7 seconds left. Out of the timeout, we then get a beautiful cut for Derek White, who takes a wide-open shot from mid-range, misses, but Mo Bamba does not want to lose tonight. A beautiful putback-dunk by Bamba keeps the Legionnaires in the game, and with only 0.2 seconds left on the clock, the Celtics are unable to score in the next possession, and so we head into overtime. And the story of that overtime period is quickly told. The Legionnaires once again found their groove offensively and scored a whopping 21 points in only 5 minutes, and the defense stood strong enough to hold Boston to only 10 points, and so the end result, a hard-fought but deserved victory, 113-102, as the Louisville Legionnaires win back-to-back 2K Summer League championships. Man of the match, without a doubt, rookie Andre Flanders, who scored 37 points in this one, including 5 3-pointers. At least rating-wise, 3-point shooting is not one of his strong suits, so seeing him go 5 of 9 here is definitely respectable. Mo Bamba once again filled the stat sheet with 21 points, 12 rebounds and 4 blocks, a performance that once again shows tremendous potential for the upcoming season. Kyle Kuzma also got himself a double-double with 14 points and 11 rebounds, while Derek White also continued to impress me, 12 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals and the block. With those numbers, he definitely shows us that we cannot simply move him to the reserves and leave him there for the rest of the season. White is without a doubt a deserving candidate for playing time at the backup point guard, and I expect him and Rondo to switch places in the rotation quite frequently. Last but not least, Mitch Dennis was also surprisingly active tonight, definitely on the glass with 10 rebounds and as a playmaker with 6 assists as well. So with the Legionnaires taking the crown in the 2K Summer League, we now have the San Antonio Spurs winning the NBA Summer League, and that brings us straight to the next point, the All-Star City selection. And look here, the 2020 NBA All-Star Weekend will be held in Las Vegas, so after only 2 years in the league, the Aces already get the honors of hosting the festivities. Alright, the 2K Hoops Summit is up next, where this year's top draft prospects will match up against each other, and I have once again decided to go with a fictional draft class, this one actually made by the same guy who made the last one, so we should once again get a nice pool of talent with a lot of work put into them. In the Hoops Summit then, Team USA comfortably beats Team World, and we should probably keep an eye on this Stephens guy right here. With 34 points and 6 rebounds, he absolutely torched the competition tonight. Now only one more chapter before we can close the books on this year's offseason, so let's send the Louisville Legionnaires to training camp. And this year I don't really see anyone worthy of the untapped potential training camp. We didn't really have anyone who drastically overperformed, so this year we will work a bit more on the skills themselves. Now we have 3 camps to use, and the first one will be Big Man Offense, where we are going to send 21-year-old Mo Bamba in order to improve his scoring abilities around the rim, most importantly his post game. Right now, Bamba mostly profits from his length and athletic skills, while his post game is still lacking a bit, and I think it's best to start focusing on that early. The second training camp will then be athleticism, and we are going to send 19-year-old rookie Andre Flanders. Now, Flanders has quite a few areas where he could improve. 3-point shooting and defense are only 2 of them, but I think especially with his high potential rating, those are skills that might come a bit more natural to him, while athleticism is definitely something that you need to work on a bit harder, and an increase here might just be the best edge he can get at this point. The third and last training camp will then be perimeter defense, and we send our other rookie 3-point specialist Mitch Dennis. My plan for Dennis is to not only develop him into a lethal 3-point shooter, but also into a serviceable defender, ideally into a true 3-and-D specialist. For the moment, his defensive skills are lacking a bit though, so the training camp gives him a bit of a boost here. And that's it, off-season complete, we are ready to advance into season number 3. Now, as you can see, our first game will be against the New York Knicks, and that will happen in the next episode, but before we wrap things up, let's quickly talk rotations. To start the season, we will go with the following lineup. We will start as usual in the backcourt with Ulis, Richardson and Hood, while we have a significant change in the frontcourt where Chick Diallo will man the starting power forward position. Diallo definitely showed last season that he deserves the playing time, however his 6'9" frame is not really suited for the center position, so now at the power forward he will hopefully form an athletic, fast-paced duo together with Mo Bamba. Our bench unit then will actually see Derek White at the point guard instead of Rajon Rondo. He impressed me enough in the summer league and I'm willing to give him a go for the first few games. With Flanders, Kuzma and Johnson, we then have 3 highly capable scorers in the bench unit, a unit that is completed by Deontay Davis as a defensive anchor down low. For the moment, this leaves Rondo, Vaughn, Hernan-Gomez, Asik and Dennis without any playing time. However, apart from maybe Asik, they could all see occasional minutes here and there, especially when the first minor injuries start to come up. So here we are, ready to start season number 3, and I actually have something special in mind for that, because I have decided to give you our first season matchup against the New York Knicks in full length. We will have full 12-minute quarters. I'm not quite sure if I'll play myself or if I'll let the CPU take control, and I apologize in advance, but I'm also not going to provide 1.5 hours of commentary for that. Let me know if you want me to turn on the in-game commentary though, or if you simply want to enjoy the game without anyone talking whatsoever. This is just something I wanted to give you. After 2 years and 29 episodes, you guys haven't really seen a lot of gameplay yet, and while a full-length game might certainly not be for everyone, I'm just testing the waters here. Maybe some of you have the time and also the investment in the series to enjoy such a thing. So, next episode, full-length game, minimal editing, probably about 1.5 hours. I'm not quite sure when that will go up, but it shouldn't take me that long. So, until then, leave a thumbs up if you liked this episode. If you want to support the channel and haven't subscribed already, then feel free to do so. And as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!